Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. I hope that you are all well. This is where I talk about the books that I'm reading. I like to read diverse books and I highlight Canadian literature. If you are new, thank you so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I hauled in January, the first books of the year. I have a few books here, and you may remember that I ended 2024 with the TBR stack at 1,519. We will be adding to that today, so let's take a look. As usual, I'm going to start with the books that I have received from publishers, and starting with Atria Books, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster. And I received an arc of The Three Lives of Cate K by Fagan. This was published on January the 7th. And this is a story about a woman who is a successful writer, but no one knows who she is because her identity has never been revealed. The book has been likened to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I loved. I loved that book. Meets First Lie Wins, which I have no idea what that is. I don't know that book at all. So I've actually already read this, so I will be talking about it in my wrap-up. The next book comes from Douglas and McIntyre, and it's Curse of the Savoy by Ron Bass and Prudence Emery. This is the fourth book in the Priscilla Tempest series, and some of you may have already watched the interview that I did with Ron Bass. We chatted about this series when the third book in the series came out. So I will link that video below. You can have a look if you haven't had a chance to see it. So the series takes place at the Savoy in London, and Priscilla is a Canadian and works for the hotel's press office. And these books are just like cozy mysteries. They all have some real life characters and some shenanigans in them. This one has Orson Welles as a character. So these are just good for, some really good, easy, fun reading. Okay, so with these two books from the publishers, that brings the TBR to 1,521. From the Republic of Consciousness, I have the Unfilial. It's 4 tragic tales from modern China by Yao Emei, and it's translated by Will Spence, Olivia Milburn, Honey Watson, and Martin Ward. So these 4 stories take a look at the breakdown of the Chinese family and domestic life. And I don't know for sure, but just kind of reading about this, I get a dark vibe from it. I could be wrong about that, but we'll see. So that brings the TBR stack to 1,522. So next up, I have 2 memoirs from the same author. First is In My Own Moccasins by Indigenous author Helen Knott. And I finally picked this up. It's been on my radar for so long, ever since it was published. Helen Knott lives in my hometown, and I've been wanting to get to this. So this memoir is about her resilience. It's about addiction, intergenerational trauma, and just the things that Helen has had to overcome. So then the Canada Reads long list was announced. I will leave links to that video where I did a reaction to that as well. And Helen Knott's second memoir, Becoming a Matriarch, was on the Canada Reads long list. So I was like, now I have to get that too. So this memoir is about her experience of losing her mother and grandmother in a very short time, like just over 6 months, and how that has changed who she is and who she's becoming. So having no grandmothers and just losing my mother recently and other matriarch figures in my life. I have a feeling I will be able to relate to this at least to some degree and in some ways. So with these two memoirs, that brings the TBR to 1,523. So as I mentioned, the Canada Reads long list came out. So I ordered a whole bunch of the books that I didn't have that I thought would be making the list. So these next books are from that, starting with The Other Valley by Scott Alexander Howard. So the premise of this book is, what drew me to it, and I really did think that it was going to make the short list. I thought for sure it was going to be shortlisted, but it wasn't. And the concept, though, is that the story takes place in a valley, and to the east, the same valley and town exists, except the town is 20 years ahead in time. And then to the west, it's 20 years behind. So the towns kind of repeat in an endless sequence across the wilderness. And I just thought that this idea was quite brilliant. And I thought for sure it was going to make it. Next is What I Know About You by Eric Chacour. And it's translated from the French by Pablo Strauss. And I thought this one had a good chance of being on the short list, mostly because books in translation, have made it to the short list before. Last year, a book in translation won the whole competition. So this story takes place mostly in Cairo, and it's about a boy who has his whole life planned out for him until he meets another boy, which changes things. So neither of these books made the short list, but the book that I didn't think was going to make the short list and did was Watch Out for Her by Samantha M. Bailey. So this is a psychological thriller, which is my favorite kind of thriller. And it's the first thriller on Canada Reads. So it is getting some chatting. There's some chatting happening about this book. A wife and mother moves her family across the country. I can talk. Because she's witnessed something or learned something about the nanny. But even after, getting settled in their new home, way on the other side of the country, the wife finds hidden cameras and wonders who is watching her now. So this has potential to be a really enjoyable thriller, I think. I hope I like it. I will be buddy reading it with Michael Wurtenberg. So I look forward to being able to chat about this with him, and hopefully we both like it. So with those three books, it brings the TBR stack to 1,526, and that is where it's going to stay until I do my wrap up in a couple of days. So please let me know if you have either read any of these books, or if you are interested in any of them. Are there any that you would pick up? Or do you have any books that are new to you from January that you are most excited to read? Love to hear all about it, and I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.